Welcome to Backyard Philosophy, a podcast where a couple friends grab some cold ones, sit around the fire, and talk about science, philosophy, and history. Crack one open, sit back, and get a good laugh as we discuss everything from automation to why the meaning of life is 42.
We're going to talk about what if humans rutted? So, what if we had a different means of reproduction? What that means for our evolution, what it would mean for our evolution, and what it would mean for our society to look like today. But first, Mike, how are you doing? What are you drinking?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm having some Blue Moon, hoping the weather warms up a little bit, but besides that, I'm good to go. How about you, my friend? What are you drinking and how you doing?
I'm doing great. I've been looking forward to this topic for a while. It's one of the what ifs I think about in the woods all the time, and I'm drinking a Coors Light. So, for those of you who don't know what rutting is, it's a form of reproduction that certain animals do. And what it is essentially what it would mean in this context is what if humans reproduced once a year? So, this is common in like elk and deer are the predominant ones, but all kind of that species, goats, antelope. And during that time, the males get a lot of testosterone. They get aggressive. That's what they grow their antlers for, to fight off other elk and deer. And they form they steal females from each other. So the male elk will try and grow its herd of cows and fight off other ones that are trying to take it away. The bigger elk reproduces the most. And the rest of the time, the cows will travel in a herd for most of the year. And then sometimes the male elk will travel in a bachelor herd with some other male elk when they're not in the rut, when they're not in that reproduction time. And sometimes they'll be all by themselves. So my first thought, would we be able to have evolved all this technology if humans did that? So same, we still descended from apes, but instead of reproducing all the time, we reproduced once a year. So because of that, I'm like, man, would we have the incentive of even creating technology and all that stuff? Because I imagine getting a mate and having more stuff than our neighbors was one of the ways that we used for reproduction. So if that's not a objective, do you think we would even be where we are today if we had a different form of reproduction?
My first initial thoughts are chaos, utter chaos if we had mating seasons. For some reason, the mating season for walruses, where walruses like just kill each other and shove each other off cliffs, comes to mind. But I don't think humans would be advanced as we are now. I think having humans who have more free time where mating isn't the highest priority on the list, because I guess my example is a scientist. A scientist might be an outcast. They might focus more on their work, not finding a potential mate. And since they can focus more on their work and they don't have that natural instinct inside them to suddenly change their brain chemistry to only focus on mate, they're able to create more, to make more, to contribute to more to society on a larger scale. And man, I'm just thinking like the amount of violence getting on there, the amount of stuff not be able to get made or done, or just resources. I mean, humans are on nearly every continent. How would that affect if we all had the same rutting season? Would it be only certain so say Europe and Asia, they have rutting seasons, but they're different seasons because it's different tropics, different climates. Could they how would they crossbreed? How would we mix other humans together? It would only be territorial. This is a hard question. This is a weird question. I love it.
Yeah, and so during like the elk and deer ruts, it can get pretty violent, and sometimes the male will fight so much it'll actually like die of exhaustion because they don't eat at this time. So they go like not mad, like out of their minds, just whatever, but they get very aggressive and they can actually fight to the death. That's why occasionally you'll see deer that get locked together, and the only way that one of the deer survives is sometimes the other one will just die of exhaustion or because they've been fighting for so long. And he'll just have to rotate the body all around to snap the other deer's head off. So he'll just be walking around with the deer head stuck in his antlers. My buddy Pierce shot a deer that had that thing happen to it. He shot the deer, got up to it, and there's a whole nother deer head attached to it that had been trailing for who knows how long.
This is a bad joke, but he got a 2-for-1.
Yeah, none of that meat was salvageable, but he got it to like these guys who did the taxidermy for free, and it was on like a tour of the country, so it was pretty cool. But yeah, these the fights are very aggressive, and so like you're talking about resources, it's like, man, I could see this going one of two ways. So I could see humans having like maybe in more, if let's say we did get developed, we have all our modern technology, and we just happen to rut once a year. Do you think that we would have like a treaty where, okay, we can like fist fight only during the rut, or do you think it would just get violent with guns and all that stuff? And we'd have so like you said, the males that grow antlers, humans might develop some kind of physical characteristic that attracts, a fighting weapon that attracts women, and then females probably wouldn't have large breasts because they don't really, it's more of a pheromones that attract men, not physical characteristics as much. So that would be crazy. But, or do you think it would just be like all out war? Like humans would just start killing each other like once a year, like a purge kind of situation to try and get females.
I see it as a purge. I mean, from a guy's perspective, we already make dumb decisions because of sex. I imagine that would heavily be emphasized if we had a rutting season. And there's no treaties. There's no way. Like, a lot of people kill each other for jealousy just because, like, or someone cheats on someone, or they don't get the person they want, or stalkers. I imagine it's no rules, hold bars. I mean, Undertaker's coming back from retirement. It is just chaos.
Yeah, probably. So then now I kind of want to talk about the off season, right? So there's a good chunk of time where humans wouldn't be thinking about sex at all. So you probably wouldn't have marriage, right? Like there's no reason to get married.
Yeah, we definitely wouldn't be we definitely wouldn't be in that kind of long-term relationship, like an individual mate. We would probably kind of just try to get our seed and DNA to every possible one possible.
Or would like people who were not physically developed, because normally it's the older bulls who mate. People who aren't as developed, you think that they would try and get a female? Well, they wouldn't really be thinking about sex, but maybe try and like enter into somewhat of a relationship with a woman, and then when the rut comes, go somewhere far away where there aren't as many males to compete with to rut with that female.
Oh yeah, I can see people doing that, but you said with the older bulls being the more physically fit, it'd be kind of the verse for us. It would. All right, so stay with me. This is gonna get a little weird, but I can see like 18 to 30-year-olds just being. I mean, they're the most physically fit. Just being utter chaos of them killing everyone. But I'm also trying to imagine, how does that affect when humans go through puberty? Are we gonna have a little, like a 13-year-old being a little shit running around trying to kill people with a knife?
Yeah, I don't know. And then, yeah, so I think at a certain age, some of the older bulls may or may not stop in the rut. I can't remember exactly. I might be thinking of something else. But
this is all hypothetical. So let's say yes. Let's say at a certain age, we'll say 65, you retire. You don't get into the rut anymore.
Yeah, so then that's free. But I mean, there's got to be. So then, would we have like the family? Like, we wouldn't really have families, right? So women would just go and raise all the kids, and then the dads and kids would end up fighting each other in the next rut eventually, sometime.
Yeah, I'm trying to think also, what about like having a leader, like the president of the United States? Is it just the guy who can?
Well, he's the one who can. It's like idiocracy. Be the strongest male is the leader, I imagine.
Yeah, but I imagine at some point, all our dumb hormone brains will be like, okay, if we all gang up on him, we all kill him, we all get females.
Probably. I mean, I like to imagine a world where humans rut very similar to ours, where yeah, we have like where everything is very civilized for like 10 months of the year, and then the rut kind of starts. So it doesn't go full out. Like some animals will enter in the rut a little early, some a little later. So it's but usually there's a date that's like the peak rut. So it's kind of goes off and on. So for about 2 months of rutting that humans would occur, but I tend to think that the rest of the time would be just normal civilized society, and I just think about how people would live in that. Now I think there'd be a lot more focus on like personal fitness, right? men would be Men would be going to the gym a lot more in the off season,
Everyone would be black belts.
and there'd be a lot more like yeah, everyone would be black belts. There'd be a lot more people would be more well versed in fighting. Like you'd see a lot more of that kind of stuff going
Even more
on.
guns.
Yeah, even more guns.
How would it work with the military? Like, although, although for 2 months no country has their borders defended,
Right?
or that
I don't
one poor
know.
battalion that has one female like a CO and a bunch of males. Like, there's no like. I'm wondering the professionalism. Like, is like you said, we probably wouldn't have marriage. Would we? Would we understand commanding officers? Would we understand hierarchy? Or would it be everyone? Because I'm now in my mind, I'm imagining if it wasn't just males in the rut. Imagine if it was reversed and it was females in the rut.
So the males just kind of got bred, and the females did the fighting. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm wondering also how that would. You got my mind racing a bunch of questions here, Nick. Of military, of like,
I know. I think about this all the time.
God damn it! Now I'm gonna be at work tomorrow. I'm gonna be like, well, females might develop more testosterone if they wanted to compete in the rut. But wait, well, all right. This is kind of a dark question. Do deer rape the females when they're in a rut, or is it the females like, yeah, I'm game?
Yeah, I mean, they also want to mate with males, and they'll follow pretty much whatever male. But it's nature. It's not like there's a form of consent or anything. It's if the female, even if it isn't in the mood or isn't in the rut, I think the male will still, like, I guess, quote unquote, rape the whatever animal it is. I mean, it's gonna come up. I mean, the deer, when they get in the rut, they're like out of their minds. If you ever seen those like videos of the deer like having sex with the car or something, like that's what it is. It's pretty strong. They only have fighting and fucking on their mind. That's just how it works.
I might cut this next part out, but now I'm trying to imagine what happens if males and females both had rut season, but they're not on the same schedule. So females might be June, July, males might be November, December. Would it just be? It's just imagining that chaos.
Well, I think they'd have to evolve together.
Well, that's why I'm thinking going back.
The females for the rut, they're only fertile during that time. I'm pretty sure.
Well, I'm just imagining with different continents, different regions, different temperatures. They're having probably different seasons, and humans, we hop on an airplane, come over, and now you're not in your season, but everyone else around you is in your season. How would that change things?
Be pretty crazy to watch. I don't know. I bet that'd be a pretty. That'd be like a tourism thing, like you go to these other places to watch people rut because, like,
I think that's called.
I don't know how much memories people have of deer have like during the rut. I think their minds are pretty fucked. So you probably wouldn't even know what happened like during the rut. I probably heard that from some bullshit thing like on the radio or something. There's a lot of weird radio stations in Oregon, but so I don't know how true that one is, but I'm sure that might be a thing. I mean, I don't know. But so say that's true, right? So say we all have different seasons, different continents. You'd probably devolve a certain different species of humans, like branch off because of this. And each species may or may not have characteristics that are better suited to their environment. So we might be completely different species. So then we'd probably just try and kill each other.
Well, I'm imagining Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin on the space station during mating season, and them just killing each other in spacesuits.
Oh, that would. Okay, so that is interesting. So bring space into the rut because the rut is kind of brought on by where, again, I think this is it's true. I don't I didn't go too deep into this. I just kind of know from just general knowledge. So I think the rut is brought on by when the sun reaches a certain point in the sky. It starts releasing chemicals in the deer and elk brains, bodies, nervous system. I don't know what that would mean for space.
I don't think we could go to space.
I don't know if we could go to space
Because
either.
I'm thinking of like all the rocket technology, and like all of a sudden you get into mating season, so you just launch rockets at each other to kill a large part of the population so you could date.
I don't know if it would be that widespread, though. I think the violence would be a lot more localized because you're not concerned about people far away. You're only concerned about who's stealing your females from your specific area, right? Your brain is so focused on keeping your female herd together and fighting off those people. I don't think you're really concerned about like people far away because you're so focused on what's in front of you.
Well, I'm thinking,
So I don't think the violence would be that like major and widespread. I think it'd be really bad like for the people around you, but I don't think you'd have rockets and stuff killing people miles away.
see, I'm thinking of like New York City or London when there's millions of people all on top of each other.
But you want those women. You don't so you did that, you'd be killing all those potential mates. You'd be killing potential mates along with other males. So I think it'd be a lot more maybe if it was going to be like some kind of massive weapon like that, but I don't think it would be. I think this is a ridiculous statement. Besides the fact that this whole conversation is the smartest dumb conversation we've ever had, if there was going to be some kind of massive weapon used during a rut, I think it'd only affect males.
I can see that happening, but I'm also thinking like military bases that are predominantly male. You're just going to launch a rocket at, like say if you have two bases, like you have a joint base of Air Force and Marine Corps, you might just want to bomb or grab a tank and just start wiping motherfuckers out.
Now here's I see what you're saying, but what I think it would be like in this totally hypothetical situation is it's such a basic instinct that I could see like maybe a knife or something like that, some kind of pokey tool, but I don't think it would be like a firearm that you have to manipulate and reload and find ammunition. I think this would just be like
Bludgeoning to death.
almost like almost like you have rabies and you just like attack things.
I gotcha. So you lose high functioning mortar skills and you're only down to your basic core. I can see it. Yeah, I can see that. So like someone like grabbing a rock and just like pretty much like I imagine silverback gorillas fighting each other. They don't exactly. I mean, they have the capability to use firearms, but they don't. They're in the mindset they don't know how. I imagine if we're in that sexual mindset, that yeah, we're just gonna hop on top of one another and beat the crap out of them, and then hop on the mate that we just won.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then also there's another throw this in. Not all males try and fight each other like that. What some males will do is they'll stay on the edge of like a bull's territory and just try and pick off one or two cows to mate with, kind of like a sneaker male. So you'd have that too. You'd have males just kind of sneaking in to have sex with your cows, your females.
I'm imagining a lot of different tactics. Like you have the obvious brutes going at each other. You have the one who's waiting for the one brute to win, so he's tired and weak to attack. And then you have one while everyone's fighting, sneak and grab some possible mates and walk away. Now this is gonna be a really really weird question. How does sexuality play in this? Because I don't know. Are there gay deer?
I have never in my entire life thought about that question before.
Because now imagine two males.
Imagine you think you're getting in a fight over some females and then you lose and the guy starts having sex with you.
I mean, yeah. Like your target audience isn't who you're fighting for, but you might be fighting your target audience what you're fighting for. You might be fighting the person you're trying to fight for.
Yeah, so hold on. I'm on Wikipedia's list of mammals displaying homosexual behavior.
Because or what, like if we're just saying tomorrow there was a flip switch and this year 2021, which wouldn't be that surprising how weird the last like 18 months.
Okay, so antelope, which rut can be gay, I guess. So yeah.
So I'm wondering how that works, where you have two male creatures who are attracted to each other, but their chemistry is changed to a, a beast-like state.
So a few things. So one, elk also have exhibited homosexual behavior. I feel like it would not be as common as it is today in our current reproductive system, but I think it would just be like because you only pass on your genes if you mate with females, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not like societal pressure pressuring you to not be gay. I just don't know what advantage you would have, in that kind of reproduction, because you only pass on your genes if you mate with females, and so I just don't see, and I don't think sexuality would be discussed as much as it is in today's world, in a world where sexuality only mattered 2 months out of the year.
True, but I'm also imagining the environment because I imagine environment has a huge impact on sexuality. So I imagine, I mean, we'd still get percentage that is not heterosexual. So I imagine that's continuing because based on society basis. And this is kind of a little bit off the topic of just that, but the fashion world would change if we had mating seasons. It would be like medieval armor. You're like, all right, ugh, winter's over. Mating season's almost here. Time to get the medieval knight armor out of the shed.
Yeah, that's very true. And this is kind of going back to what society would look like. I kind of think it would look like almost like fraternities and sororities. People would live in like how like almost fraternity houses, right? Where a bunch of guys, the rest of the year, you're probably just going to work and play video games. You know, you have no interest in girls at all. And then women will probably live together in like another, apartment complex or something, and raise all the kids together, because the males aren't really involved in taking care of kids at all. So you have all these guys just probably sitting around, working, doing whatever their job is, going to the gym, drinking beer and playing Xbox, while the women raise the kids. I mean, for a lot of people, that's probably a dream, I imagine.
I mean, there's a shoe that can fit everyone, but not all shoes.
Some people live completely by themselves, but for the most part, like for the women will are solely responsible for raising the children.
I wonder how that would impact society long term of not having a dual sex system of because I had a father figure that I learned a lot from, pick up traits from, see what works, doesn't work. I imagine that's got to be a huge influence on society and culture. That would drastically change and be completely different if we moved away from a mono system to, I guess, a. I'm not. I don't even know if there's a word for it, but just solely being raised by females and the males not involved. That's got to change the behavior and psychology of humans.
Oh, I'm sure. And then, so in, I almost said in deer and elk culture, as if, like but if you're a deer or elk, for the most part, like I said, the women will stay together in a herd all year round. And then the males, they might form a bachelor herd of males, or they might go out by themselves. But after like a year, the spike males, the younger males will leave the women, the female herd, but the females will most likely stay with their mother in whatever herd they're in. So you could have, a lot of those males, they only have their mother for, I mean, humans don't age as fast as they have a longer lifespan, so it'd probably be longer than a year. I mean, it's probably till like 13 or 14 or something, I imagine. But maybe because of that, we might have a shorter
Lifespan.
lifespan. I don't know.
Well, in my mind,
It's a lot of
yeah,
questions.
unfortunately now I'm thinking about like male lions when there's a new male lion for the pride, they tend to kill all the young so they can produce their own. And I'm thinking humans would probably do the same of it's the season, I come across a bunch of, I don't know, 16-year-old males who could or could not be my own offspring. I'm in that mindset of breed. I might see them as a potential threat and kill them. I
Yeah.
That's really, really dark.
So I guess now that I'm thinking about it, everyone's like, "Oh, humans are so aggressive because we're only thinking about sex all the time. It seems like if we only thought about sex for a few months, we might be even more violent.
Oh yeah, we would 100% be more violent in my mind. You couldn't you for I liked your idea of everyone just spreading out during the season, like everyone just learns. Like, hey, me and you, we're taking a boat to the middle of the ocean. I imagine the amount of people who own boats would significantly increase, or cabins or something.
Yeah, do you think so? We probably wouldn't have cities. Everything would probably be spread out. We'd probably be a predominantly agrarian society, right? I don't know how much our technology would progress. Probably not at the rate that we did, but I think it would be a lot slower, but there'd be a lot more spread out of everything.
This is a completely 180, but it just crossed my mind. So with the reproductive systems changing, that means females wouldn't get periods all throughout. Do deer still get periods even though they're not in mating season, or is it only during mating season?
I am looking it up now.
Because that's gotta change a lot of things. I mean, it. I'm trying to a lot. There'd be a lot less humans because I don't think nature could survive. Because for 2 months, you would have to stockpile food for those 2 months. It would be like squirrels preparing for a winter. Because you're in such a mindset, you wouldn't be able to think. So you'd be smashing open cans to get beans or something like that.
So, what do you think would be the ideal rut season? It'd probably be, let's see. So, with 9 months, you want a child to be born probably springtime or coming out of winter. So, we'd probably rut before that. So, the women would have to be pregnant over the winter. So, they have to have food stockpiled for that because you want
Probably October.
So, you'd want October, November, December. Maybe a little bit earlier because you want them to be born coming out of winter, but not where it's springtime. You have a lot of food. I mean, it depends if we're at what we did or how we stockpiled it, our food.
Well, it's only for 2 months, so we only need to store food for 2 months. The rest we can go back to normal farming and agriculture.
That's true.
Oh man, dude, I would have so many pet wolves. Like I'd get wolf dogs. I would just have a dog farm that would be just like, all right, it's main season. The dogs are running with me. I'm running around with a pack of wolves.
But here's my question: is do you think we would prepare for it like that? Like, I think we'd be a lot physically stronger. But do you think we would like make our houses like
Castles.
fortresses, yeah, castles, and all these defensive things to keep other males out? Because you still have to bring women in. So are we back to marriage where we find women in the off season to bring them to our place in the mating season?
I can see both. I can see males prepping beforehand and kidnapping during, or like leading them away, or at least having a stronghold. It's like having a territory. And I imagine. I mean, humans. All animals, I say, are pretty clever. Every animal is built to survive, so they gotta be pretty clever. I imagine we would a month beforehand start wearing different clothes, like faster running boots or body armor or something, a month before our minds switch, just so when we do switch, we're good to go. And yeah, I can see us fortifying, just preparing our territory, like much like you're trying to attract a mate. You try to build the best nest. You're trying to show off the best features. You're trying to show that you're the strongest, fittest, and best suitable mate. I imagine having a good home and then defeating all the mates, other possible mates, has got to be chemically very strong for an animal during breeding season.
So, okay, so hypothetically, because this is all hypothetical, obviously, but so let's say males did have all this time we fortified and all this stuff. How do you think the females would live? Would they just, whoever's got the nicest place, move in there? Or would they have their own place and males would have to run out, try and find these females during mating season and bring them back to their place? Or do they try and get them there well ahead of mating season? Because you're not thinking about mating at all during this time period. You're just solely focused on living. You're making food, resources, you're just growing. Like, you're getting ready for mating season in the effect that you're growing your antlers, you're trying to stay alive. I mean, obviously humans aren't growing antlers, but it's not like deer and elk are spending all this time getting swole so that they can mate down the road.
I kind of see it like walruses almost. So all right. So I see two possibilities. I see it like a walrus where the females stay close to the mate, kind of like back in the day with Genghis Khan, where kind of like a small army of females stayed with one bull in that kind of like kingdom. I also can see the males having their own strongholds and the female. Like, so you're driving down the block. You see, a nice house, nice house, nice house, nice house, all females. And then in the middle of the block, there'd be like a castle. That'd be like a male's house. Or not a castle, a fortified position, sandbags, barbed wire, etc. Then the next house, next house, next house, all females. So it'd be like one structure being male and then the rest being females. I imagine a lot of males would get wiped out and the ratio to male to female would significantly shift in the favor of females. So I see it being cycles of lots of males, they kill each other, low amount of males and high amount of females, so the males don't really kill each other, and then that cycle just goes back and forth. So I see either all the females congregating in a castle, or just males have one fortified house in a suburban neighborhood and all the rest of the houses are normal.
Yeah, so I see that. So two things I want to say. One, this would be a hilarious sitcom or some
Yes.
TV show. This would be fucking hilarious. I can just picture, because not during the rut, or if it's not the rut season, you're not thinking about that stuff. So I just see like some guy moving into like a neighborhood, start building this really fortified house, like across from this other fortified house, and you're like, oh, howdy neighbor. And then like the rut comes on, you're like, this motherfucker coming in here. But then also, and this is probably worse, I'm just picturing like still kind of elk, like herds of women just like roam around the country, like, and they just kind of like, they have like a territory, but they just kind of wander all over, so that it's not like they have a house, more like caravans, and they just kind of travel. But obviously that's not like that doesn't fit with modern society. And I just
I think you are right though with the two different. I think it'd be males living kind of isolationism and women all kind of living together. So when it is rutting season, all the males kind of go towards the females, because I now thinking about it, I think you are right. It'd be more communal raising of children.
yeah. And especially like the females, because like you said, the males will try and kill the young males, because it's a source of competition. The females will step up and defend the young males against the older males. So I think you'll have some of that. So they'll be, they wouldn't be with the males all the time, I imagine. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it would be, the males would be off by themselves. Occasionally, like, you'd have males who group up together, but like a bachelor horde, but would probably predominantly be by themselves. And then, yeah, like, and it's hard to fit it with modern society, because you'd have to have a bunch of women living together, but I just can't imagine like a bunch of women agreeing on like what house they like and how to decorate that house. Or maybe that's just everyone like kind of lives in a similar housing style, and then they have like their own area. I don't know.
All right, so two things. One, I'm trying to imagine the social culture now, like bars and clubs, and like how all that would change.
I
And
don't think there
two,
would be any. I mean, there would be bars, but I don't know if there would really be clubs, right? Because that's predominantly for reproduction, almost.
yeah, and two, I can also see it being this is a very modified version of your rutting season, but you're able to form tribes, like all the females live like in the skyscrapers, and small like Mad Max tribes form, and they all fight for the right to breed with the opposite sex.
Yeah,
So like the pack animals know we're better together, or it could be more like a pack animal where, I mean, dogs go in heat, and usually the alphas are the only ones to breed, but sometimes like betas, charlies, and omegas breed. But it could be like that kind of pack with that kind of season, where instead of individual basis, it's now like dog basis. It's just go time. Nick, why do you put these things in my head?
because I think about this all the time. Because there's so many what ifs. Like, essentially, you're imagining an entirely different society just based on just our means of reproduction. Like, we change one thing, and our entire world is changed.
Imagine a hurricane going on in Florida during breeding season. Imagine just Florida during breeding season.
Okay, so yeah, that's the whole nother thing. But so, like I said, I imagine we probably wouldn't have that much recollection because our minds are going crazy. So you'd go into the rut and then you come out of it, but a hurricane passed that you have no memory. So you go into the rut, and next thing you know, all these houses are destroyed and there's flooding everywhere when you come out of it. Like, can you imagine? And you don't
I
remember it.
I imagine it'd be a whole service fee for people to set up cameras just to remember what you did during the rut season.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure we'd all have GoPro strapped to us just so we'd be like, oh, damn, that guy really kicked my ass.
Oh yeah, yeah. Nick, this raised so many more questions. This hurt my brain, and I loved it.
Like I said, this is probably the smartest, dumbest conversation you'll ever have. Nothing useful came out of this at all. Like, there's nothing we can take away from this to make our lives better.
I now have an icebreaker next time I go to the club. So, how do you feel about running season?
It's like Billy Madison. We're all dumber for listening to this conversation.
Oh, so true. But I imagine there's got to be stuff we've missed, right?
I mean, there's so many. This affects us on everything. Like you said, from just what our culture, society would look like, what businesses would operate, to fashion, what we would wear. I mean, there's nothing that doesn't get touched by our means of reproduction.
Yeah, it all boils down to sex, sex, sex. And I'm now going to think about this and make a list. We're definitely going to touch back on this with when I have more evidence. But if someone wanted to tell us some avenues or rabbit holes to go down on, and I'll go down on with the wrong choice of words, but to go into, how could they find us or reach us?
Find us on Instagram. If we get enough, we'll probably do another, maybe we'll call it like another what if humans rutted episode after hearing what people think the world would look like, because I mean, probably got it wrong. Who knows? I don't know. Yeah, anyway, let us know on Instagram at Backyard Philosophy of what you think the world will look like, even if it's just, well, I don't think there'd be makeup or something like that. Like, who knows? But let us know, and we'll talk about it next time, because this is a good episode. This is pretty fun.
Oh, we're doing this again, even if it doesn't get a lot of views. I like this one. And as always, thank you all for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Backyard Philosophy Podcast. We rarely finish a podcast without missing a point we wanted to bring up, so let us know what we forgot. And if you have a topic you want us to talk about, let us know at Backyard Philosophy on Instagram